we're facing an inconvenient truth in advertising because people are becoming less receptive to our work, and it's a big issue. Even the best creative, perfectly deployed, needs a receptive audience. But people are becoming less receptive to advertising. Perhaps we can blame people's busy lives, and distraction is definitely an issue when we're trying to talk to people. But a lot of it's down to us as an industry. Certainly not down to the work that we've been talking about here today, but a wider industry issue. We've been seeing declining advertising awareness response. More people saying they're thinking advertising is a waste of their time. Currently in between around 30 and 40% in different countries, but on the rise. We're seeing tiny online response rates that we're hammering away at to try and increase. And the rise of ad blocking. Ironically, I was looking at a piece on ad blocking, and just as I clicked on it, an ad popped up. I thought, I wish I'd blocked that ad. There's a direct link between more advertising clutter and less advertising response. Data shows that. We also know that too much frequency, as you move up the reach curve, becomes inefficient very quickly. But in the digital space, when that frequency becomes compressed, not only does it stop giving returns, there's a high risk of a negative effect on the brand. However, against this backdrop, the volume and frequency of messaging is increasing. Share of voice-led thinking still drives huge TV volumes in some countries. Outdoor inventory in some markets and digital inventory in most markets can seem to be out of control. With digital came data, and with data became behavioural targeting and greater intrusiveness as well. People aren't data, and they're not unique IDs. They're people, and we're turning them off. So receptivity is our industry's most precious resource. It's our oxygen. And it seems like we're belching out our own version of CO2 into this atmosphere and putting our environment at risk for advertising effectiveness. I've cheered everyone up, haven't I? If we want more effective campaigns, we need to get better care of people. How do we do this? Well, people respond to great advertising. It's the advertising equivalent of planting more trees. Evaluating at a much earlier stage in the creative development process means we can be more confident that people will be more receptive to any ads, wherever, whenever, and however they're deployed, by country, by media, by execution, right down to your call to action. Brands that evaluate early or at multiple stages in a campaign improve their ROI. Validation shows that can be about 20%. And it's perfectly possible to have an ad that does good for the brand and short-term persuasion. They're not mutually exclusive. A lot of Millward Brown's clients are placing much more emphasis on early stage development, and I mean very early stage, going back to the idea, and even before that, to the human truth to tap into. And we've seen examples of that happening today. Get that right, and everything works better afterwards. And it's so easy now to get consumer feedback, to understand what their receptivity is at all stages of creative development, from deep insight on new ideas or expressions of those ideas to very fast, very inexpensive tests if you're just checking which copy will be well received in market or in different places. In fact, anyone here in the room with a credit card and a piece of stimulus can go online to do-it-yourself platforms like Zappy Store or Qualtrics, and find ways to do this for yourself. Millward Brown have been putting offers onto those platforms to cover ideas, storyboards, executions in all media forms, in contexts like Facebook contexts, and in a vast number of countries. I think we now have them in 40 countries. And you, as I said before, all you need is a credit card and the stimulus to be able to access them. So there's no longer any excuse for deploying bad creative. And with solid evidence behind them, marketers can better champion great ideas throughout their businesses and get great creative content through their organisation, right through to even local retailers who need convincing to support the brand. So champion great creative with early stage evaluation. The next thing is to get media right with holistic evaluation. The image on the slide probably, I can't see almost anyone in the room who would remember this. This is a very old Guardian ad. Oh yeah, you do. The message in this advertising campaign, this was for the Guardian years and years ago, and it was really only when you see the whole picture do you know what's going on. We need to see the whole picture. We have to get out of silos. Brands are at risk of being distracted from the most effective campaigns by only getting a partial picture. Headlines about one media being the answer or another media dying are unhelpful, and silo evaluation can be very misleading. Deep dive evaluations on individual channels are very good at optimizing within that channel, within the role, and within the metrics that you know you want them to work for. But to increase marketing for effectiveness overall, you have to get the mix right in the first place. And this means understanding the value of communication activity in context. So one media in context with another, one activity in context with another. And it doesn't matter whether it's survey data, sales data, digital behaviours. The imperative is to disentangle all of those influences and uncover how these things work together. Even social or search trends tell you nothing by themselves. They need holistic modelling to tease out the meaningful insights. Because of this silo mentality, many brands are losing sight of the importance of the media mix in a digital world. TV can be vital to prime response in other media. Online video can fill the light viewer gap. And magazines are an incredibly efficient way to drive up emotions. Synergy, coming from when you see two or more media at the same time, can account for half of a whole campaign's impact. If you don't have those media work together, you are half as effective. Managing exposure overkill, one of the things that I think is driving this decline in receptivity, is easy when you're looking at it holistically. Once you get to diminishing returns in reaching one media, you switch on the next media, grow it, switch on the next media. It's not hard. PR can turn around brand perceptions in a down market. Point of sale packs a big punch, but it packs a bigger one with a communication campaign behind it, priming it. So it's all in the mix, and yet there's still brands out there pumping out thousands of TV GRPs in a battle of share of voice. And there's still brands that believe only digital approaches are the answer. My message is to evaluate and plan holistically. Organise for learning with your own big data. When it comes to increasing multi-market campaign effectiveness, the best big data solution is the one that the marketing organisation has in their hands already, which is their own insights into their own creative and media performance around the world. The seamless flow of learning going to and from the centre is not easy in big organisations. I think Nestle is something like, oh God knows, hundreds of countries and thousands, a couple of thousand brands. It's a massive task to move information around such an organisation. Universal access to internal data within the organisation helps. and standardization of frameworks that people can flex within, fair enough, but frameworks that people can work to will also help to create a common currency and a way of thinking. A global database accessed by a common dashboard available to everyone in the organisation generates a currency, a way to look at data together. And when you've got people looking at data, the same data with different questions in their minds, that's when innovation happens, that's when learning happens, and people go, oh gosh, I didn't think about that. And somewhere in another country, someone was curious, and you could tap into their curiosity and increase their marketing effectiveness. And investing in a holistic online global community for the company is vital. So Millward Brown have one, and it's hosted by Jive. And anyone, anywhere in our world, can access all of our collective wisdom into what makes brands, advertising, and media work. I find it incredibly useful when I'm doing things like this. I post a question, can anyone give me an example of this? How does this work? And I get immediate responses. So in conclusion, I couldn't stick to 3, sorry. I know that's not very journalistic, but there are 4 things I wanted to say today. And one is that receptivity is our precious resource, it's our oxygen. So let's nurture people, the receptivity of people as humans with our communications, and don't treat them as a set of response numbers. Then we need to do the advertising equivalent of planting more trees creatively, and early evaluation helps that. The third is that we need to manage our emissions better, and holistic evaluation drives up effectiveness and up efficiency and down unnecessary noise, unnecessary intrusion. And finally, we need to organise, learn and share our best practices better within our businesses. So if we can do all that, I think it would be good for the individual brands, but it will also be good for our industry's environment as a whole. Thank you.